Hello, hello. This is Adam Regalado, your host of the Prospector Digest. Welcome back. Now, I hope everybody's doing okay out there. It's the middle of the semester, and let me tell you, I am feeling very overwhelmed. So much work, so much to do, graduating this semester, so just one more thing to add on top of everything. We're almost done, we're almost there, and I'm sure everybody is doing amazing. This is the Prospector Digest, a place where we talk about arts and culture, news, everything that you can find at theprospectordaily.com. Now we're talking to reporters, we're talking to experts about these things that are going on in the El Paso community to make sure you stay updated. Now let's get into it. But first, a little trash talk from Frida Acuna, our arts and culture editor here at the Prospector.
As students navigate the 2024 fall semester, concerns about cleanliness and littering around UTEP campus are on the rise, as reports of trash and debris being scattered around campus and inside buildings, particularly in high-volume areas, increase. Popular Instagram page FitFam El Paso recently posted images of the Union East building, where students usually enjoy a meal. The images show the second level unkept with trash all on the floor and tables. This bringing awareness of how crucial it is for everyone to play their part. With the influx of new students this semester and upcoming semesters, it is key to highlight the importance of respecting a space. Students are encouraged to use designated recycling bins and trash cans to dispose of any waste. UTEP is a home to many students. It serves as a coven for networking, learning, and community. It is our job to keep it clean, keep up the minor spirit.
Alrighty, well, just want to thank Frida for that. And she's right, y'all. I mean, this is our space and we need to respect it. I saw those photos on FitFam myself, and I'm usually never up there in the Union, but seeing those photos, I was a little hurt. I was a little offended. I'm not gonna lie. So let's just respect our space. Now let's move on to our next segment. And now let's delve into a new segment of the Prospector Digest, Intimate Insights with the Prospector. Now this is a bi-weekly column that will be on our print issue and as well as on our website, theprospectordaily.com. I came to our directors, Crystal and Vero, with this idea because being on a college campus, I thought it was just a really important thing to be talking about. Not to be vulgar, but or blunt, but let me say it this way: people on this campus are having sex. We're all adults, and it's just a normal thing that happens. So I just thought it was something important that should be talked about. I brought our web and copy editor, Alyda Muela, to help me talk about this and talk about the first column, Navigating Consent. Thank you for coming on, Alyda.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So let's delve into what I talked about in the column. One of the first things that I talked about was we're coming up on Halloween. And with that, I think I mentioned Mean Girls, or I don't know if it stayed in there. I totally forgot. But that thought crossed my mind where it's just Halloween, you wear your skimpiest outfit, you expose yourself and stuff. And I think now in today's age, it's just there's that huge controversy between well, it's your fault that this sort of situation happened when it pertains to sexual assault because of what you were wearing. But I do not agree with that whatsoever, where it's you should feel comfortable in whatever you're wearing and not have to worry about people coming up to you saying some things that are insinuated sexually because of what you're wearing. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I would agree. I think that, not just when it's Halloween, of course, women want to wear, or anyone wants to wear more revealing clothing or costumes, but I think in general, people should be free to wear whatever they want to wear. I don't think it's your responsibility to worry about whether or not someone's going to approach you in a negative manner because of the clothing that you're wearing. I think this is something really important to talk about because, I don't know, just as a woman as well, that's unfortunately something I think about when I, dress up, and not necessarily that I wear revealing clothing, but no matter what I wear, if I'm wearing a tank top or shorts, that's always a thought that crosses my mind, oh, am I gonna go out and is someone gonna look at me or approach me and am I gonna be uncomfortable? And it's unfortunate, and sometimes, I change, but I'd like to, live in a world where that's not a worry that we have.
No, for sure. I mean, I'm a gay man, right? And so like I can't understand what women go through. Nobody will ever accept women, you know? And I do hang out with guys, I mean, in workplaces and stuff, and they would talk really grossly about women just because they were wearing shorts or because they were wearing something revealing. And I just thought it was so wrong, you know? And I would be like, she gets to wear whatever she wants to wear without people like you sexualizing her. She feels comfortable in what she's wearing, and so leave it be. So I think that education definitely needs to be flipped instead of pushing it on young women that they need to wear more conservative clothing, and focus it on the men and be like, hey, leave these people alone. Stop sexualizing people. Not everybody wants you, and like that sounds rude. I mean, but it's the truth. Not everybody wants you. You don't get to have an opinion on anybody's body.
I think that also just goes into like gender stereotypes though, because I mean, for example, like men can walk around shirtless like when they go on runs or when they're doing, whatever they want to do. Like it's pretty common for men to not wear shirts. And it's just like normalized. And I'm not saying like women should go out completely topless, but like women go out on runs in like sports bras and people have a problem with it.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that's really fair because
it's not.
One
of the other topics that I talked about, which when it talks about navigating consent, I think it's really, really important. When you're going out, people are having a nice night and they may be under the influence. And I think that's something that really needs to be understood when you're out, whether at a club, a bar, a social event. You need to understand that people are maybe under the influence, and that doesn't give you a right to keep going with things. Try to like take somebody home, like you see in movies and stuff. I think it's just a really scary thing that people need to be cautious about for sure. Do you have any thing you would say to people like when being cautious around people who are under the influence that they may be attracted to?
I would say like, you can have a conversation with this person, but if you can tell that they're inebriated, maybe don't pursue it further. Like have that in your mind. You can be attracted to someone, but if you know that they're not maybe in the right state of mind, maybe back off a little bit.
Yeah.
But also I just think like you should be having these conversations with people that maybe you're partying with, like not just for strangers that you meet at parties, but even if you go to parties with like your significant other or something, like have these conversations about, are we gonna drink tonight? Like, am I gonna drink? Am I gonna have like someone who's gonna help take care of me? That kind of thing.
For sure.
I think that's really important.
Because even in relationships, it's just because you're in a relationship doesn't give you any right to like sexually advance anything if a partner is under the influence. And I think that's like consent never stops. It's a forever thing, It's as soon as you meet a person, it's when you're in a relationship, when you're married, it's an ongoing conversation. Throughout the whole night, it needs to be a conversation. And you're right, it does start like at the beginning before you go out with your friends, with your significant other, making sure like what your boundaries are. This is not going to happen tonight. If I'm under the influence, we are not doing this, and you need to understand that. That shouldn't even be a conversation, in my opinion. Like that, like if I'm under the influence, we're not doing anything.
Yeah, like obviously we're not going to.
Yeah. I think that's just one of the most important things. We are coming up on our time, so I think I just want to say that like stay safe, which is, I mean, I feel bad for even having to say, it's a really messed up thing, but for sure stay safe out there, but enjoy yourself, have fun, and surround yourself with people that you trust.
I don't think like if you hear this podcast or if you read the article, I don't think it's like, oh, but it's weird to have this conversation before we're like having a night out or whatever. Like that's the whole point, is normalizing these conversations so that way we can take preventative measures in some way. So just feel comfortable setting your boundaries and having these conversations. It's not going to ruin the night. It's not going to make people uncomfortable. And if it does make people uncomfortable, maybe those aren't like the right people to be hanging out with. I think it should be accepted and normalized.
That part right there. Yep. Thank you for joining me. Sorry.
Thank you.
One more time. Thank you for joining me on the Prospector Digest, Alyda. Super excited for everybody to read the column, I hope. Again, that's Once again, that is Intimate Insights with the Prospector, Navigating Consent, which you can read on theprospectordigest.com. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Alrighty, y'all. Welcome back, and now let's get into our arts and culture segment. I have writer-contributor Avery Escamilla-Wendell here talking to us today about an event that's going to be happening Monday, October 21st, called Lowriders, an Origin Story. Thank you for joining me, Avery.
Thank you for having me, Adam.
Awesome. So let's get into it. Can you tell me a little bit about the event and what's it about?
Yes, so from what I know, it's by two professors, Mirna Ajo and Adrian Aragones.
Oh, awesome.
Yes, so in the Chicano Studies Department. Basically, it's going to be talking about the history of lowrider vehicles and how it's related to culture here in El Paso and Juarez.
Awesome. I took a class with Adrian Aragones.
Me
I think
too.
you did too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed that class. I think I could listen to him talk for a while. He's really, really smart about this, about these kinds of things. He's really knowledgeable. Every time he talks, he makes sure that everybody's really involved with it, only because he talks about it so well, and he's just really passionate.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited. What are you hoping to get out of it? Do you have any like specific questions or like things you're looking for in general?
I just want to know like what inspired this basically, because like obviously lowriders is like really rooted into like Mexican culture, and where I used to live by, it was like really like associated with like cholos and like cholo culture and lowriders. And so I'm like, oh, like maybe I can ask about that and find out some facts about how it started, how the culture of lowriders started and stuff like that. But I'm excited to see how it's gonna go. Also, the location's gonna be in the Bloomberg Auditorium, which is on the first floor of the UTEP Library.
Awesome. Basement?
Yes.
Yes, awesome. This whole thing kind of reminds me of that story that I did during the summer with the Texas Standard. Because Krosno himself, he said in some of the footage, he was just saying that I'm just giving to people what they want, and it was a lot of low rider music, so to say, that people were requesting a lot. And so he was really deeply rooted. I mean, he was this white jockey from Arkansas, right? A white disc jockey, I said in the article. And he just got really rooted into Chicano culture because everybody was requesting that kind of music. And so he was learning about the culture a lot. I wonder if they're going to talk about that, or if maybe that's something they you could bring up after if you interview them.
Yeah, I'm hoping to learn more about this.
Awesome.
I think it's interesting.
Super excited.
Yeah.
That'll be out next week on our website,
Yes.
theprospectordaily.com. So I hope everybody enjoys it, and we hope that you get to make it to the event.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me today, Avery.
Thank you for having me.
And just a quick reminder, that's Monday, October 21st
from 12 to 1
at the Bloomberg Auditorium, first floor of the library.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. I have Victoria Valdez, a photographer contributor here at the Prospector, who actually wrote a story for us, talking about a guide to a safe Halloween. So thank you for joining me today, Victoria.
Happy to be here.
Awesome. So can you tell me some of the things that you learned to have a safe Halloween while you were writing the story?
Yes. So obviously I've read some common tips are like check your candy, checks like don't go to strangers' houses, don't help strangers, like look out. But also I interviewed some 3 people. And I was like, oh my god, I totally forgot about those tips. Evan, that I included in my story, he said, oh, when I was younger, my mom bought me this like belt, a reflective belt. So when they were crossing the street, they would like be seen from the cars. Yeah, for sure.
A lot of parents, when we're going from house to house, will cross the street or we'll jaywalk sometimes. So I think that's a really, really good tip, actually.
But also another person I interviewed, she said Alexa, she was like, oh, I used a flashlight instead. So she like flashes her like phone to like cross the street, but that's not like only Halloween. But, like she did that like overall, like every night. So that's a good thing.
That is.
Another thing I recommend it was like the Uber. Like take Uber if you're gonna drink or take Uber. Like make sure to use it in the app because I know there's some scams going around that are like they say they're Uber drivers and they're like driving around.
I did not know that.
But like they're like, oh, I'm an Uber, let me give you a ride, but they're not. So they should be careful and be like double check like with your Uber, like the photo of it, the name, the license plate, yes, and like order from the app and not from like a stranger being like, oh, okay, let me give you a ride.
Yeah, for sure. Don't take rides from strangers. I feel like we learned that as kids and we're starting to forget a lot of these things because you hear a lot of these tips and tricks like when you're younger. Like I remember like learning a few of these things about like checking your candy when you're young, but like nobody really ever talks about that anymore. And sometimes maybe parents forget, or like when they have kids, you know, they're just like, I learned this when I was a kid, but I completely forgot about it. Like this is a thing that could still be going on.
Yes,
and
like,
then
that's why I said I was like, it's such a basic like common fact that we forget about it, but it's like so important for safety, not only Halloween but like overall in life. So
was there anything that you learned when because I know you talked about like not going to strangers' houses, but for like parents taking their kids trick-or-treating, like I mean, yeah, take them to a safe neighborhood, maybe a neighborhood that's close to you, a neighborhood that you trust. But is there any tips about being like cautious when taking your kids trick-or-treating to other houses? Is it just
like go in a group, like don't only go with your kid alone. Like if you're both parents, go both parents.
Yeah.
Like don't be in a group of friends, like your little kids, like friends, parents, like go in a group, don't go alone, go in the neighborhood. Like if it's dark, don't go in there.
Yeah.
Obviously use the reflective balls. I think that was a good idea. Be in a group, cross the street safely, check the candy. I guess I also said like check the candy. It was such a basic thing to say, but like it's only like not check the candy, but like check if it's expired, or like if it looked like they closed it, like open it and put something in it, or like inject something in it. Like it sounds scary, but it can save you.
No, for sure. I mean, there have been stories about people like actually finding things in their candy, or like being showing pictures of their kids' candy, and it was so clearly opened and then closed again.
Also, like if you go to your neighborhood and it's like homemade like candy or like homemade things, just be careful with that. Like don't give it to your children.
I wouldn't. Yes. No. Yeah. I totally wouldn't do that. Well, good lighting. Check your kids' candies. Making sure you look both ways when you cross the street. So much and more. Hopefully everybody will check out Victoria's story on the Prospector Daily. Hopefully everybody will check out Victoria Valdez's story on the prospectordaily.com. Y'all have a great and enjoyable Halloween and stay safe out there. Thank you for joining me, Victoria.
Thank you.
Alrighty, y'all. So let's go ahead and move into our sports segment. I hope everybody's been enjoying the Prospector Digest so far. I had Sebastian Perez-Navarro. He covered the football game that happened earlier this week on Wednesday, where our Miners finally took the win. This man knows about sports. Trust me, he really, really does. Every time I have a conversation with him, I learn something new. But let's go ahead and move this on to Sebastian.
The Miners got to play back at home in the Sun Bowl for the third time this season, and they welcomed in what's a very memorable opponent, FIU. Just last year, the Miners traveled to Miami and upset the FIU Panthers on Wednesday night primetime. This year, the Panthers and the Miners again faced off on a Wednesday, and UTEP was hoping to reignite some of that magic. But they wouldn't have Keith McConnell starting at quarterback due to a wrist injury. Skylar Locklear would reassume the starting position in which he had throughout the starts of the year. the game went back and forth as UTEP went into the locker rooms with a 17-14 lead, able to extend it near the end thanks to 4 turnovers off of the defense. The offense held up their end of the bargain. They were able to convert on the opportunities provided to them by the UTEP defense. Simultaneously, they properly executed what's possibly the best tactic in football: running the ball. Credit that to junior running back Javon Jackson, who got a season-high 148 yards alongside 2 rushing touchdowns. The pass game improved. Skylar Locklear threw for a touchdown and was also able to run one in, and where UTEP's offense was efficient was with clock management and sustainable drives, something in which we haven't really seen all season. Now, UTEP's offense was still a little bit rickety. They fumbled the ball once. They turned over the ball immediately after they were able to pick off FIU. However, when going into the fourth quarter, down by a point, with momentum feeling as though it shifted towards the side of FIU, the UTEP Miners kept their poise and drove down the field to respond to the Panther touchdown with one of their own. Not only did the defense not allow any more points from South Beach, but simultaneously, the UTEP offense looked comfortable, something in which really hasn't been present all year long. It's a difference in play, one in which poise is increasing from Walden's unit, credited to more experience, credited to being at home, but there is no denying the improvement in which UTEP showed, and which can really be carried on not only in these next 5 games, but into next year. Remember those 4 interceptions? Well, 2 of them came during the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter. Ultimately, UTEP was able to run out the clock after putting up a touchdown and a field goal in the fourth quarter and win the game by a total of 30-21. It's not only UTEP's first win at the Sun Bowl since September of 2023, but the night came with 2 special occasions, as Coach Scotty Walden finally won his first game as leader of the Miners.
I feel like a winner!
Reporting for the Prospector, I'm Sebastian Perez-Navarro.
Alrighty, y'all. Now we're gonna get into some UTEP volleyball. Today with me, I have Sofia Sierra, sports editor of the Prospector. Thank you for being on the Prospector Digest, Sofia.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to speak about UTEP volleyball, Adam.
Awesome. So let's get into it. So we've done a few stories reporting on women's volleyball so far throughout the semester, but for our listeners, can you explain to them how the season's gone?
No, our Miners are doing amazing right now. They're the top of the conference, 18-2. And you know what? They've won every single CUSA game or Conference USA game. And the person tailing right behind us is Western Kentucky University. Yeah. And right now they are 8-0 CUSA, but in general they're 15-6. So our Miners are doing exceptional right now.
Can you maybe talk to me about the last game and who they went against and how they performed?
Yeah, of course. So on October 12th and the 13th, they traveled all the way to Louisiana and went against LA Tech, both of which were sweeps, meaning they won all 3 rounds. And, prior to that, it was New Mexico State, which, the I-10 rivalry series. And one was a sweep and the other, they did lose 1 set. But either way, these girls are doing amazing and putting the product on the floor genuinely.
That's awesome. Wow, we need to definitely be talking about these girls more. Who are they going to get up against next? Is it going to be tough? How are we feeling about it?
No, okay. So our next competition is going to be in Jack State, and that's not a home game. But right now, Jack State is...
one of the bottom of Conference USA. And yeah, so as far as I could tell, it should be another sweep for the Miners on both days.
Awesome. So our reporters, I have a quick question because you're saying CUSA, and it just reminded me. I was talking to Sebastian, staff reporter of the Prospector, who you know, and he wrote an opinion article, and we were talking about it on the podcast about going from CUSA to Mountain West. Can you talk to me about how that may affect the women's volleyball program? Do you have any opinions about that?
Yes, so the Miners are gonna see the switch over to the Mountain West Conference in the summer of 2026. So the 26-27 season, that's when all of UTEP athletics is gonna start playing against bigger competition. I will be honest, of course, the teams in Mountain West are a little bit more advanced in comparison to the Conference USA teams. But with the way that the Miners are doing right now in their volleyball games, they're doing really well. And we have actually played against some Mountain West teams, such as Air Force, and that was a sweep.
Oh, nice.
So against this season, and of course in other previous seasons, so there were sweeps. So it is nice to see that, volleyball is going to get more competition, especially because right now we're at the top of the league, and I'm sure it will remain consistent in the Ben Wallace era. However, it may get a little bit difficult for the Miners. I can't say that we will be top of Mountain West, but of course, we could only go up from here, and I think these girls really do have the potential. And of course, Ben Wallace has the potential to adapt to a new teams. And so I think it will be a good opportunity for us to improve. However, I think it would have been nice to see these ladies on top of Conference USA for a little while longer, so we could be able to snag that volleyball championship for our conference. However, it will be nice to see new competition and better teams playing.
Do you think it'll be like a rough start, or do you think that they'll be able to adapt pretty easily? Because like Sebastian was saying, it's gonna take football maybe a while to adapt. Is this the same case for volleyball?
It will take a while for volleyball, and each sport is going to have a different time adjusting, because we have played against these Mountain West teams before. Not all of them, of course. And so women's volleyball has had a taste of Mountain West schools. But I think we're definitely not going to be in last place. We are definitely have maybe perhaps a shaky start, just because, we're going to be having these new teams. But with the adaptability of the Ben Wallace era and how he's been able to shape the program from going from the bottom of Conference USA to now the top of CUSA, I think he will hopefully be able to do the same. And I think we definitely won't be on the bottom, but
awesome.
In my opinion,
I'm super excited for them. I'm sure they're gonna do amazing no matter what they're doing. They have a great coach, and you can really tell that they're strong. They're really, really strong. So I'm excited for them. Well, thank you for joining me on the sports segment for the Prospector Digest, Sophia.
Yes, thank you for having me.
And that is the Prospector Digest. Now, I hope everybody had a great time listening. I hope they learned something. I know I did while listening. While talking to our reporters, especially in that sports. I'm learning more and more about sports, I promise. But I hope everybody has a great weekend. And this is Adam Regalado, your host of the Prospector Digest.